Welcome everybody to the hour of the day. This is the first day I have been able to wake up and not and have actually have the expectation to not take painkillers today, like ibuprofen, acetaminophen, and all that kind of stuff, because my mouth is feeling so much better. Last week I was in a lot of pain, and we're through that. We've taken some antibiotics, and we're feeling much better. So I am here to give you a smiley Dow of the day. Everybody who wants to come up is invited to come up and pick a number between 1 and 81. I am, I'm flying by the seat of my pants these days. I'm letting go of a lot of stuff, and as I'm prepping for my dark retreat at the end of this month. You guys are gonna be without me for like 2 weeks. I think it is. I'm gonna be in Guatemala for 10 days or something like that, and traveling, and I'm gonna have a little downtime before, a little downtime after, and I'm really looking forward to taking that time away. But I also feel that anxiety of being away, right? Like there's all of that story that pops up. So in that, there is story that pops up, and in that, I can sense that that is happening. There's this, oh, am I going to be irrelevant, and all of this kind of stuff, which is ridiculous, right? I'm gonna go ahead and pick 26 for myself today. Um, to be light on your feet, you need a steady mind. If your body is active, your mind should be relaxed. A master can travel long distances and still see all her possessions. She may be surrounded by beauty, but she isn't caught up in it. Why should a master scurry about thoughtlessly? If you act lightly, you lose your bearings. If you act recklessly, you lose your self-control. So this is very beautiful for me today. I gotta prepare. I didn't prepare this morning really, so I don't have my notebook in front of me. Um, to be light on your feet, you need a steady mind, and I and that in terms of the thing that I mentioned earlier with me going away and me not going to be doing Tao of the day, not being here on Wisdom for a couple weeks when I go on my dark retreat. Um, that's that's a big deal, right? Like for me to have done this weekdays for I don't know how many weeks it's been, but it's been since like maybe November. So that's 4, 8, 16, 20, some 20, 25 weeks maybe. I've been doing Tao of the day. Sorry about that. Just wanted to have a little booch. 25 weeks, let's say I've been doing Tao of the day uninterrupted. And now I'm going to interrupt it. And that really kind of means that I need to be light on my feet. I need to be able to shift. I need to be able to shift, and I need to have a steady mind to do that. To be light on your feet, you need a steady mind. If your body is active, your mind should be relaxed, and my body will be active, right? So I'm going to need to, and my body will be active in the dark retreat, right? My body is going to be still, but in that stillness there is all of the action that revolves around that stillness, having to be still. I've been attempting to get myself up to a 3-hour meditation sit before I go on my dark retreat, and recently I've been doing my 2-hour sits, and I've been coming out of them early. And so I got to recognize the difference between that active and passive, right? And I need to be able to calm my mind down. I need to steady my mind quite a bit. And it's been reeling a lot. It's been moving a lot on me. So that's something that really probably I want to focus on. I want to be able to put some attention on. If your body is active, your mind should be relaxed. That's it's an interesting thing. I think when I do stuff, when I do my running, or when I do, like, my mind does, it can slide into relaxed states, but I do have to pay attention. I have to pay attention because there are times where my mind will fill up with thoughts, and that's why I meditate. Like, that's why I try and do sits, because when I do a sit, I can I can actively sort through and find the thoughts that are running with it, and then be able to take action in my day, in order to I'm taking a note really quick. There's always something. Excuse me. Um, if I when I sit, those thoughts arise, and they talk about that in meditation practice and stuff. Let thoughts arise and then fall away. But what's really important is that you know what thoughts are arising and you can recognize them. Because if you're doing something, if you're running, or if you're doing some labor around the house, or if you're fixing a wall or whatever, like, you want your mind to be relaxed, but you also want to be aware of what thoughts are coming into your mind. And I told someone yesterday that I'm not someone who gives attention to detail, and that's a very true statement. I do not care so much for detail. Detail is one of those things that, when I'm expected to care about it, I it comes into stark contrast that I don't. I'm a big picture kind of person. I like to think of the big as the little. Um, and when it comes down to little details, I can over I can overlook those really easily. I have a friend of mine who is a little bit on the spectrum. I don't know that any of us are not, but she's more on the spectrum than I am, and I am not on the spectrum almost at all. um, just in terms of, like, if you were to take a one of those online tests, and are you on the spectrum or whatever, like, I'm very, very low in that, and my buddy is very, very high, even though she's you wouldn't be able to tell, over, like, I knew her for years, and I mean, I suspected that she had a little bit of spectrum in her. So it's not, but she's very, she's pretty high on the spectrum in terms of, like, loud noises are very disturbing to her, and um, very, very attention to detail, very detail focused. Uh, and when she has things that she wants done around her house and stuff, I always have to remind her, like, I don't have the attention to detail that you do. Graciela, how are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm being pulled by the story of your friend because I'm pretty high on the spectrum as well, and that was a very recent discovery for me.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful to know,
Mm.
because at least then you can be like, oh, this is why.
Right?
Everybody's so
All of this
confused.
makes sense, and
Yeah,
it makes
like,
sense to me. Oh, yeah.
like I would have my phone, if I don't when I visit my friend every Saturday, and
Mm.
usually, and we hang out and we play cribbage and we do sort of the same thing, and although that's fine, like, I don't have a preference. It's kind of like an important aspect of her week,
Mhm.
and when I go there, I have to make sure I turn my phone down, because it will really, like, kind of be fingernails on a chalkboard for her if she
Oof.
hears a loud noise
Yes.
and stuff. So I got to make sure, like, and I love her, so it's like, she's just my buddy, and I want to make sure that she's comfortable, and so like, I do those things. But yeah,
I can
it's good to
definitely
know.
relate. Yes, I can definitely relate. And then Elijah, he may be in the spectrum too, I have no doubt, and obviously highly sensitive as well, and empathic and all that. But he has this very loud, high pitched noise, screech, if you will. That's what it is. It's a screech.
Hmm.
And as someone in the spectrum, he gets fixated on it, and he
Yeah.
will start throwing that note out there, and it pierces my brain.
Yes.
It
Yes.
gives me an instant headache, even if then it goes away. For as long as he's throwing that pitch out there, it's like, oh my gosh, please make it stop. And so, no, yeah, I can totally relate. And I feel like when I discovered the whole spectrum thing and where I fall into it, and we're still looking into it and getting an official diagnosis or not, that's one of the things that I have planned out for this year.
Mm.
I'm not in a hurry. We're just
Yeah, yeah,
looking
yeah.
into it, peacefully and calmly and not stressed out. I do have a beautiful life, and we're very successful, and so looking into it for me will then help me do those things for him as he grows older. But what I
Yeah.
was going to say is, I feel like it explains why I approach every single thing I do so strategically.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you see that in your friend as well. Everything very methodically,
Oh
everything
yeah.
very strategically.
Yes. Yes. Everything has a structure. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. I don't want to move this. This is Tao of the day. So
I know. Please,
but
yeah.
no. Either way, I do want to mention this just because like we in this one of the things that is I'm always torn is this idea of like, hey, look, you are you, and if
Hmm.
we as a society could just be able to accept
Right.
whatever that is, then we
Hmm.
wouldn't need the diagnosis at all,
Right, right.
right? Because we would just be like, well, what am I dealing with here? But we go into everything with these preconceived ideas of, well, what do I expect to deal with? And then,
Yes.
oh, whoa, take me out of my comfort zone because like you're schizophrenic. And it's
Hmm.
like, you know
Hmm.
what? It's not hard to deal with someone who is going through a bout of schizophrenia if you
Hmm.
approach it without the expectation that you are going to be approaching yourself,
Hmm.
because you're not. Like, you are here with somebody else, and like if you can just bring that in. I mean, I know, I interviewed someone for my podcast who is schizoaffective and does not take meds for it, and like
Hmm.
does meditation and diet
Right,
and
right,
understands how to manage his life in total.
right.
And the idea of medication is really like, hey, get to be like us. And it's like, no, that's not the
Cor-
gift.
Yes. Yeah, no, I completely agree. ADD runs in our family as well as schizophrenia and all of these things. And my one of the people in my family have never been medicated for ADD, and they keep trying and looking for alternative ways. And it's really, I don't know, like sometimes it's very good to your heart to question things and to try other ways and to just be that rebel that just doesn't settle for the status quo. It's like, no, I'm not going to drink the pill. I'm going to try a different way. No, I
And it's
totally get it.
okay to
Thank you
take the
so
pill.
much. Yeah, exactly.
Like
Uh,
it's all fine, but you as the individual, what I would always want is that the individual makes their choice not under the influence of people around them.
right. Yes, I saw your Instagram
Like, do
yesterday.
what? Oh,
Yeah,
I don't.
in the story you were
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
living
yeah.
under the
From the
influence, right? If
yes,
you're under
yes,
the
yes.
influence of your parents or religious
Yeah,
or whatever, you're under the influence. Very interesting subject. All right, let's do Dowel of the
yeah.
day. Okay,
Give me a
okay.
number.
12.
12.
Didn't think about it, but
Yeah.
there, 12. Let's.
And this is interesting as we talk about the spectrum. Colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste,
Mm,
thoughts weaken the mind,
yes, I
desires
remember this.
wither the heart. Did we do this one already?
No, you did it with someone's daughter or son the other
Oh,
day.
yes, yes, yes. I
As
did
they
it
were
with,
going to
yeah.
school. Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember exactly what I was thinking when these things were being when you were telling them. But please finish.
Yeah. The master observes the world, but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is as open as the sky.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I feel like that's my life. And what a perfect way to start the week with stillness and with an open heart to just see how everything unfolds and what manifests for me in my week.
Yeah.
Every Monday I come to my businesses pretty fresh minded. I try not to look at business stuff during the weekend, and I say try, right? Emphasis
Yeah.
on try. I even ended up downloading some apps on my iPad and deleting them from my phone so that when we go out, I don't have them on my phone to distract me during the weekend.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, it's really about being intentional. And so if I really want to rest during the weekend, what do I need to do? Well, I
Yes.
need to put my work down and
Yes.
lift my hands to do something else. And so, beautifully said, the Tao of the day for today for me. And then the colors, can you repeat the first part?
Yeah, so the first part goes through this five sets of things,
Right.
and this is the five senses, right? Colors
Yes.
blind the eye,
Hmm.
sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, and desires wither the heart.
Mm. I mean, that I just feel completely directed to sit and be still and leave all of these other things just move around me on their own, I feel like, which is tricky because it is Monday. And so I'm ready to take action and I'm ready
Ready
to
to
do
take
this or
action.
that, right?
Well, I think it's not about leaving things. Well, I don't see this as leaving things behind. What I see it as is colors blind the eye because, like, if everything you saw, I always like to liken this to like the beautiful sunset. You see this
Mm,
beautiful, beautiful sunset, and it's like, oh my God, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Well, that ups the ante for every sunset then like that you experience, right? Like
right,
you have now created a new normal, a
right.
new standard. And because of that standard, you you lose track of the beauty of the simplicity. The flavors numb the
Mm-hmm,
taste thing really kind of shines to me because over the last 15 years or so, we've had this rise in the foodie culture.
mm-hmm,
And we have we have seen food become this idol in our
right.
society, and it's been getting better and better and better, and everybody talks about it, and it's all this stuff, and really, like, a simple meal
Yes.
has lost its flavor.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Flavors numb the taste. The more you taste, the more you need to taste. The more the more beautiful music you hear, the higher the standard. And it's like,
mm,
can you sit? And it's not about getting rid of it, but can you wash your eyes of the color so that you can see the beauty in the substance?
right.
Can you can
Yes.
you can you cleanse your mouth of flavor so that you can understand the depth of substance that is in your
Mm-hmm,
simple meal?
right. Yeah. Oh no. Yes. And not just that, but it's like when you're a tester and you get those palate cleansers in between. The word cleanse is really big for me because I love to remind my clients, especially for the new moon ritual that we do every once a month. You cannot pour inside a cup before you cleanse it. You have to cleanse your cup. You have to make sure that before you approach something else and before you embark on something else, you are done and you are clean and ready to move on to what's next. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
And so a palate cleanser, I cannot taste and savor something new and appreciate it for what it is if I have the baggage of something else. I
Yeah.
need to let that go in order to be able to really open heartedly and open mindedly see what's in front of me.
And when we look at that with these five things, right? Thoughts weaken the mind. Like, clear your mind of thoughts and
Right.
approach this
Hmm.
situation right now. Like, when I read this, you're like, oh, I remember this from last week. It's like, well, clear your mind of those thoughts. Let's be here
Hmm.
now. Because
Hmm.
here now is much more relevant than last week.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so we
for
want to
sure.
we want to walk in, and that's why it's like, when you like, when you go into your weekend, whoop, let me go in with a fresh plate, right? Without my
Hmm.
work. Let me put it on my iPad. Let me separate
Right.
myself from it,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And desires wither the heart. What are your thoughts there? I mean, it's going to be the same, but how do you see that?
Well, I mean, it really feels on what we desire. I feel like that's a good reminder for me to be able to really work and spend my time on what matters. Um, I'm not sure if I'm getting it right or
No,
whatnot,
there's no
but
right, but please.
well, I mean, the desires of our heart. as a coach, the desires of your heart, that's such an important thing. What is it that you want? What is it that you the difference that you want to make in the world? What is your purpose? And so wither the heart, I mean, you tell me, you give me some wisdom on that.
Hmm. Well, I see it as like, when you have a desire for something, when you want something, and you're it takes you out of this moment. And so your heart can't be open to this moment because your
Mhm.
heart is focused on a future point. Like if you have a
Yeah.
message, I think that's great, and I think we need to be able to focus on that message and move forward. But let's be here without because
Mm.
if it was so important, and I'm going to tell you, like I came on to do Tao of the Day, and like I did this for weeks, and nobody showed up, and like I was just doing it on my own, and like and I didn't know that it would ever catch on, but it was important for me to do because I was here, present.
Right,
You know,
right,
and I actually don't have a desire for what this is. Like I didn't
right.
know if this would be, but it was fun for me. And it's something that I've been doing for over a decade. I carry a copy of the
Mm.
Tao with me. And when people came into my car and we're having a rough day, I'd be like, hey, pick a number. And we would,
Aw,
it would always be this way of just like having a message. And so if
right.
I had a desire to help people through this, I
Mhm.
don't know. I think it would wither my heart in this way of like, but what I'm doing now is I have no desire for this, and I just allow it to be.
Right. Well, let me tell you, as a quote unquote momtrepreneur, it is, yeah, the heart gets in the way a lot because, my son only goes to his sitter like twice a week. So out of the
Right.
other 3 days in the week that you see me working from home, he is here.
Yeah.
And it's like that elusive balance. If I'm here doing the Tao of the Day, or if I'm here hosting a talk, I'm not being a mother. I'm not
Right.
nurturing. I'm not taking care of him. He's probably just doing his little block of Sesame Street on the TV and
Yeah.
learning from that so that I can have that block of time to do this or that. And it is a war every single day of like, what should I be doing? What could I be doing with him? What does he need versus what does my business need? What does my client need? So on and so forth. Thank you for this. And I
Absolutely.
hope you have a beautiful week.
Oh, I hope you do too, and I'm sure we'll
Thank
we'll
you.
we'll, we'll interact again this week.
Yeah, we'll connect again. Thank you. Bye.
Absolutely. Yep. Bye bye. I do want to finish this one up. That was the beginning of that. I know we started talking about being on the spectrum and other things like that, but this one ends with the master observes the world but trusts his inner vision. You know, as Graciela was talking about, she has so many things to do, um, and so she can observe the world but ultimately trust her inner vision and what is next, what is right, what is the next most obvious thing for me right now. And she moves in that direction without judgment, without without frustration, without trying to live up to the desire, because that is something that would wither her heart, right? Like if she can just be here present, trust the inner vision, because the inner vision is not going to be guided by color, sound, flavors, thoughts, or desires. The inner vision is going to be pure and allow her to be present. He allows all things to come and go. His heart is as open as the sky. And that as we wrap this one up, as we wrap up number 12 here, we look at this idea of like, that when you have colors and you want something bright, well, then you're not open. You allow the dullness to come and go. You allow the noise to come and go. You allow the flavors to be as they are without having to inject any standard. Thoughts weaken the mind. You allow those thoughts to come and go. You don't have to hang on to them. You don't have to follow them. When I go into my dark retreat, I'm definitely not going to want to follow my thoughts because my thoughts are going to guide me nowhere, right? And they're going to take me away from me. And so that's why I'm working on getting these sits in now so I can get used to sitting for long periods of time. And by being able to do that, I can open my heart. I can open my heart to all things, and I can be open. I can open to myself to people. I can open myself up to the world, and I can offer healing. And that's where we're at. So thank you so much, Graciela, for bringing me 12. I am going to go back to this number 26 that I started with. And if anybody wants to come up and has a number between 1 and 81 you want to pick, um, once again, I'm going to go ahead and read 26 and then we'll jump in where we left off. To be light on your feet, you need a steady mind. If your body is active, your mind should be relaxed. A master can travel long distances and still see all of her possessions. She may be surrounded by beauty, but she isn't caught up in it. That's interesting because that remarks back to our number 12 when, like the color blinds the eye. You don't get caught up in it. Yes, okay, it's beautiful, but you don't get caught up in it. Why should a master scurry about thoughtlessly? If you act lightly, you lose your bearings. If you act recklessly, you lose your self-control. And I was talking about this concept of, I'm going to be stepping away from wisdom for a couple weeks when I go to Guatemala to do my dark retreat, and that is I wouldn't say there's anxiety there, but there is this kind of sense of, oh, I'm going to be missing. Am I going to be forgotten? And am I going to be, like this is where the mind starts to take control. But in order to be light on my feet, I need a steady mind. So that's where this starts. A master can travel long distances and still see all her possessions. And that's what's going to happen, right? I'm going to travel a long distance, both physically down to Guatemala and mentally because I'm going to be sitting in the dark, right? So there's this interesting aspect that's taking place where I'm going to travel long distances, but I still am going to be able to see my possessions. I will be able to see all that I have and all that I've created and all that is right here on wisdom, even though I won't be connected directly. And that's an interesting sort of thing to recall. And that's why this message is so important to me today. And it's probably why I picked 26, because I am going to be traveling long distance and I have to recall that, yes, I'm going to be able to see all of my possessions, because I don't possess anything, right? And I don't possess anything even here on wisdom or anywhere else. Like I will say that, I have noticed that um I do have a beautiful tribe here on wisdom that I am a part of. The community here is amazing and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. And um but just because I'm going to Guatemala doesn't mean I'm going to lose it, right? Just because I'm going on my dark retreat doesn't mean I'm going to lose it. And there is that little seed of thought that is sitting deep in my person that I want to just, this is what I call telling on myself, like those little thoughts that are deep in there. It's really important to tell on ourselves. It's really important to tattle on those inner parts of you that are starting to stir. And I think that was one of them this morning. And so I wanted to recognize that. And 26 is coming up and reminding me that, yes, I will be able to travel long distances and still see my possessions. I'm not losing anything by doing that. She may be surrounded by beauty, but she isn't caught up in it. Right. I can be surrounded by, like, when I go to Guatemala, I'm going to be at this lake. It's going to be beautiful, all of these wonderful things. And yet I won't, I won't have to be caught up in that. I won't have to be caught up in, I am in Guatemala. I am in this dark retreat having this beautiful experience and all this. I won't be caught up in it. I'll just be still as it is, as I am. I don't want to be a different person when I go to Guatemala, right? I want to be me when I go to Guatemala. I don't want to stay me as I'm in Guatemala. I want to be able to grow, but that is who I am. It's very often, like, a lot of times people are like, oh, I want to go on vacation and be someone else. I want to sit on a beach. I want to do this thing. I want to, have this experience. And it's like, okay, well, if that's who you are, if that's who you are and who you want to be, why is your life not embracing that? And that's why I'm not one. As a child, we never went on vacations because my dad worked and it was union. He would never get paid for vacation time, other stuff like that. Well, he would, but he would use that to make more money. Um, so we never went on vacations. And so vacations don't really make a lot of sense to me. And now, as I am someone who, lives my life directly, I don't have compartmentalized things in my life, right? Like my life is all one fluid thing. So people are like, what is your work, and what do you do as a hobby? I'm like, well, my work is my hobby. Like it's all one thing. Like it doesn't make any sense to me to separate those things. But when I go to Guatemala, I'm going to go as me. I'm not going there trying to live a different life for a week. I mean, yes, I'm going to be in the dark and all that kind of stuff, but I've already incorporated a lot of that into my life now in terms of my meditation and my yoga practice and all of that sort of thing. So it's not like I'm changing anything. It's just going to be me in a different environment doing this thing. And so it's going I'm not trying to change who I am. I'm allowing who I am to change. I remember I had a friend, really dear friend. She was wonderful. And she found out that I used to go to raves when I was younger, than when she knew me. And she was like, "Oh my God, like I'm all about that." And I was like, "Really? I would have never guessed." And she was just like, "Oh yeah." And she showed me pictures of herself, like going to Burning Man events and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, "Oh my God, this isn't you at all. This isn't the you." And she was like, "Oh no, that's just, like I have a different me for the weekends and I have a different me for this and a different me for that." And I was like, "Oh wow, that's messed up." Like in my mind, I was like, that is messed up. Why would you have different yous? Like you run the gamut, yes, but to compartmentalize that always seemed weird to me. Compartmentalizing who you are. Like I am spiritual and I am artistic and I am blue collar and I am, whatever, sexual, and I am all of these things, are me. And if I hide or don't want to express any one of those things, I am turning my back on a part of myself. And that's something that, of all of my recover yourself work really sort of engages, because when you can be yourself wholly all the time, you don't have to be yourself more. Like this woman that I knew that was like a burner, right? A Burning Man kind of person. And she found out that I used to go to raves and things. And then all of a sudden she was able to open up that part of herself to me. But that part of herself was, you know, extreme because it can only come out during certain points. But if you can incorporate that into your daily life and you can accept that that is you and you can be yourself all the time, then you're not compartmentalizing. You're not saying, I got to hide this from this group and I can expose this to that group and all of those things. And as we look at this, right, like this is where that's surrounded by beauty but not caught up in it. When you can so easily get surrounded by beauty and or get caught up in the beauty around you when you're compartmentalizing. You get caught up in, oh, it's so beautiful to be like an athlete. But when I go to work, I can't talk about that because nobody else is an athlete. But that doesn't mean that you can't still be the athlete while you're there. Like it just means that you have to find different ways of exposing that. And sometimes I think, when it comes to like my sister or other people, they don't know who they are at all. And they go to work and they know who they're supposed to be. And so they have to go on vacation and, spend time on a beach reading or whatever, like, but they're reading to be better at being who they're expected to be at work. And so it's really hard to get in touch, especially once you start compartmentalizing. You know, But that's where this starts, right? To be light on your feet. Light on your feet just means be able to, like move quickly. To be light on your feet, you need a steady mind. That means your mind needs to be steady all the time. It needs to be always who you are. Always who you are at the core of who you are, not the compartmentalized, oh, I am the daughter while I am here, I am the mother when I am here, I am the grandmother when I am here, and the here are my roles, and I am going to, no, you're not light on your feet. That's very heavy, right? That is a very heavy step. Okay, thump, I put a foot down, this is who I am now. Thump, I put a foot down, this is who I am. So to be light on your feet, you need a steady mind, and you need to be able to, you know, move easily between things. So she may be surrounded by beauty, but she isn't caught up in it. I hope all of this is making sense. If anybody is listening, and give me a clap to let me know. Otherwise, I'll just assume that I am confusing. Okay, I am confusing everybody, and that is okay. Why should a master scurry about thoughtlessly? That's beautifully, right? Like maybe I went off on a tangent somewhere, because why should a master scurry about thoughtlessly? If you act lightly, you lose your bearings. If you act lightly, you lose your bearings. If you act restlessly, you lose your self control. I don't know how I want to take that. Like that, when I first read that, I was like, if you act lightly, because it's like, to be light on your feet, you need a steady mind. If your body is active, your mind should be relaxed. If you act lightly, you lose your bearings. All of these things are starting to, coalesce into something, and it's taking me off course, because it doesn't make sense to me at this moment how acting lightly gets me to lose my bearings. I'm going to pull up a different translation, and that was the Hogan um, translation. And the Hogan translation uses quite a bit of influence from the Stephen Mitchell. So the heavy is the root of the light, the unmovable is the source of all movement. The heavy is the root of the light, the unmoved is the source of all movement. Thus, the master travels all day without leaving home. However splendid the views, she stays serenely in herself. Why should the lord of a country flit about like a fool? If you let yourself be blown to and fro, you lose touch with your root. If you let restlessness move you, you lose touch with who you are. Okay, so I think I'm seeing how Hogan kind of translated this. I feel like it's erroneous, but if you act lightly, meaning if you act lightly, isn't like lightly as in being light on your feet, which he references that word in this. I feel like that's an erroneous use of the word light, just because I take pause with that a little bit. So what he means when he comes down to this, if you act lightly, is if you act I don't want to say without conviction, but if you act, because here in, if you let yourself be blown to and fro, right? If you act erratically, maybe that would be a better way of referencing it, right? If you act erratically, you lose your bearings. Well, of course, being erratic means you have no bearings, but being erratic means that you don't have a steady mind, right? It means your mind is not relaxed, means that you are worried about your possessions when you travel long distances, and means you are caught up in beauty. So all of those things relate back now. So if you act lightly, meaning if you act erratically, if you don't make a choice, if you don't make a choice and do something right now, whatever that is, like you do not have a still mind, right? If you do not have a still mind, you lose your bearings. If you act recklessly, you lose your self-control, you lose yourself. And I don't know that he would need self-control, but maybe, because self-control could lead us into, without self-control, we could be led into addictions and other living under the influence of other things and what have you. So yeah, so that's 26. I really like 26. I'm really glad that I read it, because it is definitely speaking to me this morning, as I look forward to all of the traveling I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be going to Guatemala. I'm going to be doing the dark retreat and all of that. If anybody has a number to share with me between 1 and 81, I would love for you to join me up here on stage and we can go through a Tao of the day for you. If anybody wants, I am here looking forward to talking about the Tao. It's what I do on the throughout the day, and I love sharing. So if anybody wants to step up and give me a number, great. Otherwise, I will start to wrap up. Once again, I am Martin John, host of the Recover Yourself podcast. I am looking forward. Oh, boop, 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 boop. Will is going to join me. Will is joining. Wonderful. Yeah, I always give everybody a little time at the end there. Will, how you doing?
Hello, John. Martin John. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good, good, good.
Constantly doing my thing. But how are you? I mean, that's right. I'm constantly doing my thing and constantly trying to network and do the initiatives that we discussed offline. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And it's always great to connect. I haven't
absolutely.
heard from from my contacts. So I'm going to be moving on to the next, and we'll see if we can send some people your way.
Yeah, no worries. I actually found. I didn't mean to come on to talk about this. Actually, I just
No, yeah,
it just blurted out. But anyhow,
yeah.
no, I found an actually another expert in men's health and
Oh,
mental
beautiful.
and that kind of stuff. We'll talk. But anyway,
Yeah,
so
we'll talk.
I'm here to support
The-
you. We're talking about the Tao of the day, and I want to try and pivot back to you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, give me a number, and we'll see what we come up with.
All right. So last time I did 23, so let's not do that. Let's do 18, please.
18. Off we go. I always like to take a note so I can remember. All right. When the Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. When there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. When the country falls into chaos, patriotism is born.
Can you say that
Oh,
again?
what's that? What's
Can you
that?
please repeat? Can you please
Yeah.
repeat all of that in super slow motion?
Hmm. Absolutely. And this is I like this chapter, this verse, because it expresses erosion of so many things. So when the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. When there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. When the country falls into chaos, patriotism is born.
So let's go to the premise. Because you said before, if the Tao is forgotten or eroded,
Hmm.
right? So, and last time I asked, my questions to understand things better, and you had said that the Tao is from the feminine, unless I'm being overly simplistic.
Yeah, yeah, very much.
Okay, so if the perspective of the feminine is eroded, therefore, what you said,
Goodness and piety.
got it.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll go through this line by line. It's just
Okay.
trying to get an initial. So what we start with: when the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. Goodness and piety are things like they look a certain way. It looks a certain way to be pious. It looks a certain way, and that's in a religious sense, and this,
Oh,
right.
that's what it
So
means. I'm like, what the
yeah,
heck?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So it looks a certain way to be, to honor the God, or to honor the church, or to honor the
Ah.
hierarchy of, we will talk filial piety later on, and that is the family hierarchy. But piety is like there is a preacher, or there's an authority figure in the spiritual um, milieu, whatever, right? Like in the spiritual environment. And
Mm-hmm.
goodness comes in the sort of ethical or moral. environment, right? So so now we're talking about like ethics and morality, right? Like goodness and piety appear. Now you are good and you respect authority.
But so that's where I get confused. So when you first started off by saying that goodness and piety, meaning outwardly appearances are appearing because you've forgotten about the Tao, and the Tao is trying to guide you and everything else.
Right.
So that makes sense. But if you're now saying that goodness does appear and it's goodness in the blatant, the simplistic sense, then that doesn't make sense to me. What does make sense, like I said before, is the appearances of
Right.
the possible,
The
like the
appearance.
like yeah. In other words, if you're like some people, they're like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, oh, I'm great, oh, I'm whatever, and there's like a self-esteem issue, or there's other, like you're saying,
Right.
morals and ethics that are perhaps
Yeah.
in need of work,
Attention.
shall we say?
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, that works also.
So what this says is when the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. Right.
Correct,
So
but
all of a sudden
correct,
we have the appearance of goodness and piety.
correct. No, because you had then said you the last few sentences before I like jumped in
Oh yeah,
was
please.
no, goodness and piety was actually there, more of like it actually is proper goodness and piety
Right.
in the actual sense. But that's not the take that makes sense to me. The take that makes sense to me is if a Tao is gone or the Tao is being lost or eroded or whatever,
Hmm.
then it's gonna be this shell, this
Right.
a facade, as opposed to the actual proper, you know, real deal, so to speak.
Right. When the great Tao is remembered, right, the actual goodness and it
Oh, I got it
exists,
now.
right? When you
I
know
missed that
that,
part.
but the thing is it doesn't necessarily always appear to be good, right?
No, I hear
Because
that.
sometimes when you love somebody, it doesn't always look like love. So it looks, it could look like dismissal. Like you could look
Right.
like you're dismissing somebody,
I got
but
it.
you really, really love them, and you're doing this thing, and you're doing something to protect yourself, and you're doing something to protect them, and that could appear to be not good
Yeah.
or not pious. And that's why. And so now we start looking at this idea that, oh, the great Tao, which is everything, disappears, and then all of a sudden we have this appearance of goodness and piety.
Yeah. And now I got it.
Yeah.
But I have to make sure that everything was sort of made sense in that sense. Anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
no, I got that part. That
And
now
then we
it's
move to the
now it's
next line, yeah, which is when the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth.
body declines, cleverness and knowledge.
The body's intelligence, yeah. This is like your intuition, right? The body's intelligence, your intuition to reach for the thing that you need. Like,
What were the
like
first words again? I'm sorry to cut you off. Please forgive me. What were the first words again? When the what declines?
when the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and
Oh,
knowledge step forth.
got it. I got it. So it's almost like a fight or flight in that weird kind of sense.
Yeah, like, like your body has an intelligence and it's guiding you to do
Interesting.
something. But, like
Interesting.
today in our world, our body, we don't trust ourselves very much. We trust
Correct.
Google before we trust ourselves.
Or pictures instead of someone's word. But yes, keep going.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, especially when it comes to different, like abuse and other things like that. We're not going to trust
No,
somebody. We're
but
not
not
going
just
to trust our
abuse.
body.
I hear you, but it's not just abuse. But let's say, for example, someone says, "Well, I saw whatever." Everyone's like, "Well, prove it. Where's the picture?" Or like on
Right.
Instagram or Facebook, "Where's the picture?" No picture. No, no, it
Yeah.
didn't happen. So anyway,
Cleverness and knowledge, right? Cleverness and knowledge step forth.
interesting.
And now we're learning how to fake those pictures more and more, right?
Well, that's
So
also
that,
true.
yeah. And so now we're relying on cleverness and knowledge and not our body's intelligence so we can be fooled with anything.
Yeah.
And then we have this next line when there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. That's when, and the family could relate to your body, it could relate to your city, it could relate to the world or the country or whatever. It could just be any sort of hierarchy of structure, any structure of hierarchy, right? Like when you have like the father deserves the like praise, and the mother deserves this and this and that, and all of these sorts of things. When there's no peace in the family, filial piety begins.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. The last sentences were very striking because of not just the war going on right now with Russia and Ukraine, but also like in general in terms of just on a family level or family systems level or a community neighborhood kind of level, which is it's just very interesting. That what it reminds me of is the because I study different texts and stuff, and what it reminds me of is the Hebrew version of the Old Testament, where the stories escape me completely. The stories escape me a little bit, but the long story short is the phrase that comes out of that is in a place where there is no person. I translate as person, not man, because I want to be like respectful and fair. I think the Old Testament meant person as opposed to man, but we can that's a whole other conversation. So in a
Yeah.
place where there is no person, be that person. So that's what comes to mind when you mention that filial bit, in terms of when there's a vacuum of leadership, when there's a vacuum of stability, be that stability, be that leader, step up, so to speak.
Yeah, and don't necessarily demand others follow you.
Correct,
Like they
correct,
will when you step up and
correct,
be that
correct,
stability.
correct. When you're that bat signal, I hate to be annoying here, but when you're that bat signal, and that light is still shining, and the light is still supported by itself, others will follow the light. Others will, try and find where the light's coming from, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And we keep seeing this, right? Like, so as we say, when the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear, right? Like if this is forgotten in your life, you will go out trying to look like you're doing good, like you, so you can look like you appreciate authority. When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. So when your body's intelligence declines, you start looking outside of yourself for answers. When there's no peace around you, then you just start reaching for the somebody else, and you say, okay, well, here, this is the hierarchy in this system once again. But then all of these things, when we can remember the great Tao, when we can trust our body's intelligence, and when peace is eroded, we can step up and utilize those things to be the person, as you're saying. And then
Yeah,
this final one is one that, every time I read this, it like rings so true right now. When a country falls into chaos, patriotism is born. Even
yeah.
as we go on, please.
No, I was gonna say, as you were talking, something else more profound came to mind as a way
Please.
of framing it.
Yeah.
It's um, when a person has lost their way, whatever version that is, whether it's their being, their perspective, whatever, then you're going to see things that aren't there, or you're going to be in a reality that isn't based in true or chi or whatever version you want to call it. In other words,
Hmm.
if a person's lost their true north, their true truth, whatever that truth is, personality, grounding, ethics, moral, whatever it is, then it's all going to come across in a way that you think might be true but isn't. And that's like all of what basically what you're saying. That's what I heard
Yeah.
anyway. I could be wrong.
Yeah. It's going to be the shell of acting a certain way. And, like it's so hard to sometimes people believe life is that shell, and they
That's the
get
point.
to they get
That's
to
exactly the point.
believe that life is that shell to such a degree that they don't think there's anything under it, and so they just
Correct.
can embrace that. This is, some people do it with apathy of just like, it is what it is, it is
Mm.
what it is, it is what it is. And they don't dive in to understand why that is what it is
Mm-hmm.
for them at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
They don't
Mm-hmm.
dive into who they are. And when you can kind of plant your flag in something, especially as this last line, when a country falls into chaos, patriotism is born. Because that's the whole thing, right? Like, if you're not grounded, ground yourself to something, anything.
Mm-hmm.
Ground yourself to your country, ground yourself to your relationship, ground yourself to, you know how often have we talked about or heard about like relationships going south and then them having a child because that might protect the relationship. It's like when the
Mm.
relationship falls into chaos, patriotism or belief in the relationship is even more obvious and
Yeah,
probably even more dangerous.
yeah. That's. I think it's more profound than that because oftentimes when you have adversity of any sort, it forces you to push back, almost like if you have resistance coming at you, you're going to push back. 'Cause your
It's a
natural thing is
natural.
to push,
Yeah.
and so the more you're pushing, the more you're tapping into that side of you that may have been dormant or forgotten or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and so that push is so amazing. Whether it's anti-Semitism and Jewish pride, whatever it is, and so on and so forth. Well, I'm done.
You can come back up and land that plane. I'll always let you do that if you want. Yeah, as we were going into that, I was like, "Oh, this is not going to end quick." Go on,
Well, here I am
please.
again. Yeah, no. Whenever there's adversity of any sort, pride and stepping up usually happens. Look, people can crumble, people can fall too, but more usually what happens is people, because there's such a need to survive, the survival instincts kick in, even if it's compartmentalized or specific to an issue or a cause or whatever. So that gets really interesting in terms of what we're discussing. That
Mm.
pushback, that need to even if the need to survival isn't life or death, it's life or death for that particular thing, that particular topic, or thing. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things that are dying off right now that want to be heard. I think hate and war and there's a lot of things that are going on right now that are holding on for dear life. And they're concepts, not just things.
yeah, no, absolutely,
I do
absolutely,
believe that.
and it's the
All
same
right, well,
thing. And yeah, no, I mean that's it. Because also like with trauma, for example, people then fortify themselves, whether it's to protect themselves from the person who's doing the inappropriate thing, whatever that thing is, or to push through to overcome that trauma or addiction or whatever. Since let's keep it for your platform, so to speak. Um, and you push through that addiction, that rock bottom, if you will, to then go back to trying to resist that need to survival, to go back to one's true self, one's true north again. So anyway, yeah,
thank you so much. I appreciate all of
no
your
problem.
insight.
I'm done. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. We're gonna bring Kelly up. I haven't spoken to Kelly in a little bit, and it'll be nice to connect. Hey, Kelly.
Hi. I just woke up, like,
You
within the
just
last
woke up?
10 minutes, yes.
I am so glad that you got well, did you sleep well or
No,
are you wait
I slept awful, actually, but
oh,
but that's okay. I mean, I
well,
think because I have my daughter, I think she broke her arm, so that's why.
now wait, did she is it in a cast? Is it been x-rayed?
No, no, but I mean, I've been around a few broken arms as a mom of like 100 children, so.
Okay, okay.
But it's not. I think it's just fractured broken, still broken, but we'll see.
All right. I was like, okay. I'm not like all my love to Holland and you. Like
Thanks.
really like I'm rooting for a nice a clean fix on that.
Me too. It's her right hand too, and she just got this cosplay outfit that she's been waiting for and so excited about, and that's her thing. And so she couldn't put it on, and it turned into a really huge meltdown, which she's been sleeping for like hours. Been
Okay. Well,
sleeping.
I'm glad she's sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad she's sleeping. Well,
Uh,
let's lay out some Dow for you this morning.
let's do some Dow. To 80, is that that's the last one, right?
81 is the last one.
Okay. Can we do 80?
Yeah, we sure can. If a country is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. They enjoy the labor of their hands and don't waste time inventing labor-saving machines. Since they dearly love their homes, they aren't interested in travel. There may be a few wagons and boats, but they don't go anywhere. There may be an arsenal of weapons, but nobody ever uses them. People enjoy their food, take pleasure in being with their families, and spend weekends working in their gardens, delighting in the doings of the neighborhood. And even though the next country is so close, the people can hear the roosters crowing and its dogs barking. They are content to die of old age without ever having gone to see it.
Hmm. I've thought about this concept before. How interesting.
Yeah. What have you thought about this concept before?
The di the people who China is an easy place to think about this with, but or or places in Asia, but also just the Midwest here. The people who are born
You're not in
in
the Midwest.
well, no, but I've been, you know, and
Because you
they
said the Midwest here. And I was just like,
well, United States. The United States
oh,
is
okay,
like,
okay.
continent-wise.
This is
But,
I think this would be considered the far west.
the I'm in the Southwest, in the deep West. Um,
Yes.
so, the people who just are, like, born and raised and stay there and die there, and they seem to live forever, and they don't seem to do anything else. Like, that's they just seem so but they also seem content, and I've met people like that that are just really seemingly happy, and it doesn't at all make any sense to me. Like, it seems, like, so wrong, like, you're supposed to go and travel and do and see and be and so just the thought about how why do I think that? Like, I've wondered that a lot. Sometimes I've even
Yeah.
been annoyed at people for doing that.
For doing what? For wanting to stay in one place.
Yes.
I was born and raised in Chicago, still live just outside of Chicago. And it wasn't, I mean, a couple years ago, I woke up and I was like, whoa, I won't be in Chicago for my whole life. And I really thought I would. I thought I'd be here forever. Now, this is a big city, so it's probably a little different. But,
'Cause the world comes to you in Chicago,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I've traveled to many places, and all of those places I've traveled to were for people who I met in Chicago, right? So I went to
Mhm.
Chile, I went to Colombia, I went to Taipei, I went to Italy, I went to Spain, I went, like, so all these different places that I have traveled, Mexico, to visit people that I had met while in Chicago. So,
Even the United States, though, because it's a big place.
yeah,
You c
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's look at this. Like, and when we talk about country, it could be the body. When your body is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. They'll be happy in your body. If it is a family, if the family is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. And it's like, hey, I really love this here. It's not about being afraid of what else is out there. And I think that sometimes when you look at people in the Midwest and people that you have interacted with, sometimes that is governed by fear, not contentment. you know
Yeah,
Sometimes people
totally.
don't go out because of fear, and it's not actual contentment. And so we have to start with the idea that when a country is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. Content is as it relates to desire. Do you have a desire to go out? No, I'm good here because everything is here. I have everything right here within me. And
It's
when you
very
start
int
feeling
I'm
that lack, what's that?
it's yeah, this is such an interesting one because it does I'm repulsed at that. It's so
Yeah.
bizarre. God.
When if a country is governed out of fear, its inhabitants will stay where they are. We could say that as well, right? And that could look the same. We read it down this morning about like this idea of staying where you are in fear, and I forget which one it was. I think it was 18 with Will. I'm not going to go to it right now, but we were talking about that concept of like, hey man, you know it's your I don't know. I can't make the reference right now, so I'm going to move on. So if a country is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. And we have to that's a big statement. Its inhabitants will be content. Not fearful, not uneducated, not not unaware. They are content right here with everything that is.
Yeah. I mean, I yes.
Yeah.
They don't need to go anywhere else. They feel
Yeah.
safe. Like you're doing
Right.
your job providing.
And there is openness and there is an understanding of the universe and contentment in that. And then here we move into they enjoy the labor of their hands and don't waste time inventing labor saving machines. See, I love that because, like, how much time and energy do we waste trying to save time?
Agreed. Agreed completely on that. I'm stuck on the first line still, but
Please, please,
mm,
please tell me about the first line.
I
Say
just
it.
because like I feel like that what like the second one is expressing the fact that that it's not about curiosity, it's time wasting. And I totally agree. Like I feel often that some of the things that computers are a great example of how much time I waste. And also, they're helpful, but they're I don't know, they're a double-edged sword. And so but the first one is like it's almost like stifling curiosity. Like don't you want to travel and don't like it's
Once again, like, yeah, this is the thing. I'm not a traveler. I am not excited by travel. I travel quite a bit, but it doesn't excite me. It doesn't bring any joy to me. People bring joy to me. And so that's why the reason I travel is because people that I care about are in other places, like, so when I visit you, it will be because of you. Like, I will tell you, I had a friend who traveled to the Southwest and I said, huh, I have people in the Southwest that I know. But I don't have any draw to go to the Southwest, but I do now. Right. And so I will go to
okay.
the
So I
Southwest.
I get it. I get it. It the
Yeah.
contentment is different. It's
Yeah. See,
okay.
I would have been content 10 years ago. I would have been content with never traveling to South America until my heart opened up and I knew someone in South America and I said, I'm going to travel to South America. And
It's a
and it and after I said, like, literally, as someone asked me, have you ever been to South America? I was like, no, I've never had any draw to South America. 6 months later, I was buying a ticket to go to Chile. And then within the next 2 years, I had traveled to South America 4 times.
so it's not the wandering aspect. It's
It's not,
literally
yeah, it's not wanderlust. It's not, yeah,
yeah, it's where do you find your peace? Like you're peaceful where you are. You're not
right,
seeking to be fulfilled. It's
right.
different. If you're like just like leaving your home because you're feeling homeless, that's different. That's what it is, huh?
And when we come to the end, which is probably a really kind of big thing that relates back to this, even though the next country is so close that people can hear its roosters crowing and its dogs barking, they are content to die of old age without ever having gone to see it. It's not this contentment is at the core of this one. It's about, are you content with who you are, or are you constantly searching outside of
Mhm.
who you are for answers?
Completion.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't need to go there. They may have gone there, but some people may have not. How
Yeah,
many
your
people do you
parts.
know travel
Yeah.
out, do things, come back, and it doesn't inspire anybody to go anywhere?
Yeah. Yeah, for
Unless
sure.
there's one-upmanship. Now, okay, well, I got to go to Italy because she went to Italy, and now I have to do it.
They're just
That,
marking things off their list. Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
That's not being content.
But also
So,
it's the pieces of you. Like you can't go seek your answers it's like blindly. Like if you have a reason, like if you know what you're seeking or if you're like going to be quiet with yourself, like that's still knowing, but like just like feeling lost and homeless. So you're going to find your home. That's with aimlessly, then you're
yeah.
not yeah.
And they have these two lines here. There may be wagons and boats, but they don't go anywhere. There may be an arsenal of
Mm.
weapons, but nobody uses them. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, we can go out on the lake. Yeah, we could, but it's nice right here.
Yeah, it's not about staying subdued, which is what it kind of sounds like, and maybe that's because this like era of the world that we live in right now.
Yeah. It's
It
really
sounds
hard
like
for me to talk to people about traveling because travel has been elevated to such a degree of, well, if you don't travel, you can't be educated. If you don't travel, you can't be worldly. If you don't travel, and I'm like, none of that is true. And I
mhm.
only know that because I've lived it. I am one of the most worldly people I know. And yes, I've traveled, but I don't travel for the sake of traveling. I told people that I'm going to Guatemala. They're like, "Oh my God, you're going to Guatemala?" Da, 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 da. And I was like, "Where in Guatemala?" And I was like, "Actually, I don't know." Like,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Well, Guatemala's great. I lived there for this many years." And da da da. What village are you gonna be in? I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm going there for something else. I'm going there to spend time in the dark, and I'm only going there for this thing that I'm drawn to. Actually, I have no desire to go to Guatemala at all. When I'm there, I will experience it. I'm not going to avoid Guatemala. I'm going to get food. I'm going to talk to people because I speak Spanish and all this stuff. But I'm not traveling to travel. I'm traveling because my heart is drawn to something that is part of me. It's like not compartmentalizing one part of my life for another.
It's like you're not it's like friggin' Russia right now. You're not trying to go out and take over other lands. You're not out there to look to consume and steal and take and just, grow your empire. But you
Right.
have like a sense of peace and like home and like love and stuff here. So it's really not
Yeah.
about traveling. It's more
No,
like
not at
about
all.
the consumption, the just like the devouring mindlessly, you know?
And this
Yeah.
piece then goes on to say, like, people enjoy their food and take pleasures in being with their family, spending weekends working in their gardens and delight in the doings of the neighborhood.
Being
Like,
mindful.
that can seem so pedestrian or so provincial, or I don't know if that's the right word. Just like, like, whatever, your neighborhood, it's all the same. But your neighborhood is just like every other neighborhood.
That voice. Eh. um,
If we
yeah.
don't get to finish this, please come back up. I do have Charente, but I do want to finish this really quick. There's this interesting thing about, like, one day I was, I've traveled a little bit to see a lot of people, and I've learned that everybody is the same and everything is the same everywhere. And one time I told somebody that, and he was just like, "I think that's bullshit. I think that's, like, people use different spices, people cook things different." And I was just like, dude, that's just structure. Like, who cares what spices people use? Yes, they use different spices because they live somewhere else, but there's no difference here. Come back up, Kelly. um there's no there's no difference here. There's no, like, they are cooking their food, they are using spices, that's all the same. The conversations they're having are the same. Yes, they have different subjects and they have different characters and they have different locations, but it's all the same.
So
We're
what's
all
interesting is that description is literally like those people that you're traveling to see, to experience their spices are literally staying in the same place. So
yeah,
it's they're not traveling to you.
right,
Like these, especially when we think of the concept of villages, which is a thing we don't do much here in the States. Like and and how like we want to go experience what they experience every day and don't really even seek to not experience every day. Like it's this whole like feeling of just being lost where you are all the time, you know?
right. And that's what, and that's about, is the country governed wisely? Because when a country is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. And that's your body, that is your mind, that is your family, that is your community, that is your, volleyball team, that is like, you'll be content. And being content is about the hierarchy of your life. Is that which governs your life governing wisely? Because when it's governed wisely, its inhabitants, your mind and your body and those around you, will be content.
And well, and a little bit of patriotism. Like these people who we think of, the world's different than it was then as far as the ability to travel. So,
Of
we
course,
do
of
get
course,
to
of course.
go and
Yeah, yeah.
experience, like, the fields of whatever, and the earth feels different in different places, and that's what I like to think about, like, how the earth feels in different parts of the world. But, um, so it comes to mind that I think, like, maybe, like, a governing body is oppressing somebody and that they don't have access to the things I have. But I completely have actually been to other places. I've only been to Argentina and Mexico, but, like, I've been to places in Argentina that were very poor and been around families that were very poor, and I think about it often. I think about how peaceful that seems. To them, I seemed like I was rich, and I'm not and
Yeah.
wasn't, but it seems so peaceful that they wake up and they do their thing, and they do spend time with family, and they get beer from some random house locally, and, like,
Yeah.
whatever they do is just very local, and it's very, like, loving, like, everybody
Yeah.
hugs and kisses and sits around every meal together, whereas I don't really even do mealtime. I'm like, "Let's just eat and move on," like, like,
Right.
and there is definitely a governing wisely, because yeah, yeah, I like it. It's
Yeah.
something to think about for sure. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad that we got to go through this. And then of course it ends with what we read already, even though the next country is so close that people can hear its roosters crowing and its dogs barking. They are content to die of old age without ever having gone see it. Now just because they are content to do that doesn't mean that they didn't.
Yeah, right.
Right? Just because you are content to die of old age without ever having gone to, without ever, like, let's take an extreme. If just because you are content to die with ever not with never having learned how to read, that doesn't mean you didn't learn how to read.
Your worth is
But
built
if
from within. Yeah.
right, you're fulfilled, it's not about an external. It's not about a skill. It's
Mhm.
not about an action. It's about you. And
Totally.
you can be content. Like, is there something in your life that you cannot be content without having done? Because you can look back at that. It's like, for me, it's like, would I be content as I am today
Oh,
if I never learned how to read? Like, if I, like, would I be,
regrets a totally long topic, but yeah.
like, yeah, I don't have any regrets in my life, like, so much of my life. And well, that's definitely a different topic, but Kelly, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's
I'm
and
so glad that yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Huh?
yeah, we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Give me a call. All right.
I will.
Bye.
Yeah. We're gonna bring Sharente on, and then Energy Lady is in line, and so Energy Lady, if you did have to step away, I got you. I got you in the queue. Sharente, how are you doing, dear? Sharente, you with me?
Hey,
Yes, you are. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It took it a second for it to say you are arrived, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. It's all you're already on 38 seconds with me. Like, yeah, you
Oh yeah,
yeah. Oh, so did you have a good weekend, dear?
I did. I really did. It was a lot of fun. I got to see a lot of my family and eat
Oh,
with
good.
them, and that was really fun.
Oh, well, it's always great to be able to see family. My weekend, I saw friends that I consider family, so that was that was delightful. And I had a new client, so good on me. I'm just making it happen. So do you have a number for me between 1 and 81?
55.
55. Where is it? Oh, there it is. 55. And you had time with your family this weekend, feeling good, early morning. He who is in harmony with the Tao is like a newborn child. Oh, I read this with your mom not long ago. Its bones are soft, its muscles are weak, but its grip is powerful. It doesn't know the union of male and female, yet its penis can stand erect, so intense is its vital power. It can scream its head off all day, yet it never becomes hoarse, so complete is its harmony. The master's power is like this. He lets all things come and go effortlessly without desire. He never expects results, thus he is never disappointed. He is never disappointed, thus his spirit never grows old.
Is that the entire reading? Just wanted to
That's the
make sure.
entire reading. Yep.
That helps me so much because I decided that okay, I just sell some stuff in my household, and my husband and my family are like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And I'm like, "I'm content just me being me. I can create with my hands, so I don't technically need these objects that I bought. And other
Mm.
people will have more gratifications with this than I do. They're literally just sitting here collecting dust, brand new, never opened, collecting dust, and I'm like, sell it. It doesn't matter to me like that anymore. It really doesn't. And the thing is, if it sells, cool. If it doesn't, cool. Either way, it is what it is. I'm not stressing about it. I'm not worried about it.
Svante, I'm telling you right now, like in the world, people are walking away from this. Like we got inundated. I don't know how old you are, if you were alive during the '80s, but the '80s were a greedy, greedy time. The '80s, in the '80s, people went out and bought stuff. Children of the, were you born in the '80s?
Mm-mm.
I
I'm
didn't think so.
27.
Okay, yeah. So children who were born in the '80s got all the shit that they wanted. I was born in '75, and I didn't get shit. But like children that were born in the '80s and early and like children like kids in the early '90s and stuff, they like things were always available, right? Dollar stores and things like all of this kind of like stuff. But I think today, and I did this not long ago. I just got rid of all, like, I took all my clothes, I put it in a bag, went down to a 10 town here in Chicago, and just is like, hey guys, I got some clothes for you, you know, and just gave them, I was just like, look, you guys need this, and I don't want stuff. I don't want your stuff. like, just, it's so easy right now. Like, and I think more and more people are learning to shed. And I think you're at the forefront of so much of that. So
Yeah.
congratulations.
I'll say yes, I am, and thank you. And I will just say for me, it's also about I have a lot of stuff that's technically quote unquote valuable to other people. So I'm like, this is why I'm personally having to be okay with selling it instead of just giving it because
Oh yeah, yeah,
over
yeah.
the years,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
I've given so many clothes and brand
yeah,
new
yeah,
shoes
yeah.
and
No, I'm not. There's no.
dude, that shopping and my card were friends. The shopping and
Yeah,
like that ate that yeah, let's just say they were married for a
yeah,
while, which is
yeah.
why I have stuff. And I know for me, like recently I sold some here this is another crazy thing. People were like, Sharente, you really you're gonna sell these? I went made sure I got in line to buy some BTS tickets because I was gonna go because I like doing that with my older sister, that she transitioned last year kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I'm gonna do it and stuff like that. And something didn't feel right after I got it. And I had a dream in regards to like pretty much going into the new way or staying in the old way. And I was like, oh, I think I know what this means. And then I was like, will I be fine if I don't get to go? And then I started going into like Facebook groups and seeing how people wanted to charge $1,400 for a really like nosebleed ticket. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? There are
Yeah,
people that have never seen this band that want to experience a concert, and you are price gouging them, knowing you only paid $200 for that ticket. Are
right.
you serious?
Yeah,
After I saw that, I'm selling my ticket. I'm done. Like, I bought 3 tickets. I'm selling them. I can't do it because
yeah.
my thing is that I've got to personally experienced those type of concerts over 5 times. Even went to South Korea. So my
Mm.
thing is, I've lived my life. I've done what I was gonna do, and I've learned the lessons that boy group was teaching, which is to love yourself, face yourself, and speak yourself. Now
Yeah,
they're about to start talking about the 7 chakras, and people ain't even realize that. But that's just me. So my thing was is after I heard that, I decided to sell the tickets, and I told them I have to talk to them. That was one of my stipulations because I need them to know it's a real person. I'm not a scalper. I'm a real person. I'm a person that actually love that band in a way that was not healthy, and
yeah,
I completely understand them. And one of them was like, "Oh, I want to sell. I want to buy it for this price," and I was like, you sure about that?" Because it was a crazy price, and I was like, "No, I'm not." Like I said, I'm also a financial person too. I'm like, child, like you good? She's like, no, I actually want to do this. So I was like, here, low end. And then just so for stuff because I was like, I don't mind giving away my stuff. Is I'm also going to throw in this merch too, so you don't have to go and try to find this or be price gouged in regards to buying the light stick too. And then I
yeah.
threw also in other merch. So that these individuals that bought a ticket don't just get a ticket, they get the insurance and they get a new piece of merchandise that they don't have to
Oh,
actually go and buy. Because
yeah.
my thing is that it's going to bring them joy, and it already has brought them joy that they're getting these tickets, that they are getting the merchandise, and if they want to meet me, they can, because that's the type of person that I am. And like I said, the stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter. Like when I die or when I transition, I am not going to have all this stuff that's around me. I'm really not. So my question is, why have it collecting dust?
Hmm.
It doesn't make
You know, I'm
sense.
I'm listening. I'm going over this Tao, and I'm trying to see like he who is in harmony with the Tao is like a newborn child. And I think that what you're kind of like, and it references this. His bones are soft, its muscles are weak, but its grip is powerful. And like as I listen to you, like your grip on being, your grip on life is very, very powerful. And but also in this way of like waking up anew every day, right? Like, yes, I had this unhealthy obsession with this band, and here we are. And then you look out at the world, and you're like, huh, this is the way the world is working. But I do have a grip on who I am, and my vital power is strong. And this is where, like, it doesn't know the union of male and female. You don't know the coming together of what is going to happen. That is still in front of you, yet its penis can stand erect, and that is you standing really strong in your person. That is you being in your vital power. You're like, I am okay if this doesn't, if we don't meet, that's cool. But if you want to meet, and if you, this is who I am. This is that standing erect for yourself, because you have a vital power, and that vital power is within you, and you can present that to the world without fear. And then here you can scream its head off all day, and yet it never becomes hoarse. So complete is its harmony. And here you are, like, speaking your truth out into the world. And then you can continue doing that until you find the right solution.
You gotta talk it out sometimes. And I'm gonna be absolutely honest. And my husband, he kept questioning me, and I was like, you know what? I'll talk it out with you. This is what was going on in my mind and stuff like that. He's like, I have no issues in regards to what you just said. I just can't believe it. And I'm like, my thing is that that was a pattern that no longer served me. I'm a married woman having fantasies and a whole bunch of other things, and no, 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 no. And then I had $5,000 budget for this group. No, I want that money to be diversified into other parts of my portfolio now. Okay, like I'm
Right.
good. Like I'm really good. Like I've done the evaluation, Martin John, and I've looked at it, and I'm like, I'm like Santa Claus checking my list twice. I don't think I want this. I don't think I want this, because the thing is that it was in a place that I needed to see the light, and they were the light, and I didn't need to put them on a pedestal because they were showing me the light.
Yeah. No,
And
I.
that's why I'm like, I'm good. Like no discipleship. I am personally straight, and that's why I'm like, I like this Tao. It came to me at the right time, kind of thing, because right now I am in my rebirth process, and I've been getting tests every single week in regards to different areas that I wasn't the best in over the past few years, and now it's getting resurfaced of, hey, this pattern's coming back. What are you gonna do? Are you going to put on the old clothes, or are you going to put on the new clothes? And I'm like, I'm going to put on the new clothes, because the thing is, I don't have to go back to my old clothes. I don't have to wear that. I don't have to rehearse it again and again. I'm going to keep my mind renewed. And like I said, at the end of the day and at the end of life, your stuff doesn't go with you. Only your soul does. And are you happy with that? And right now I can say I am. I'm happy with my soul.
Yeah. The master's power is like this. He lets go. He lets all things come and go effortlessly without desire.
That's a mic drop. That's a mic drop right there. No, because it really is. Because the thing is that you can want and all that fun stuff, but what's for you will come to you. But you have to have the right vibration to receive it. And my thing is that, how do I say this? Hmm. I will say that, like I said, for me, it's just all the stuff that I thought I wanted, all the stuff that I thought was gonna bring me happiness did not.
Right.
So why desire it? Why keep pursuing it? Why chase it? I'm an attractor. I don't need to chase stuff. Chasing gets really hard, especially after you're doing it for a marathon, but you're doing it in sprints.
Right.
So that's where I'm personally at. And like, thank you, Martin John, for this
Absolutely. And we're
amazing
gonna
Dow.
we got just a little bit more. He
Okay, go
never
on.
expects results, thus he is never disappointed. He's never disappointed, thus his spirit never grows old.
I will say that I feel like I'm regressing in age because no, because here's my thing. Um, is that when you are at a point in your life when it doesn't really matter what happens, kind of thing, and you're
Hmm.
just living life and you're in the flow and you can let stuff go, that is true power.
Yeah. And that releases you from stress, and it releases you from all of the things that fucking age us.
Oh yeah, because the thing is I'm not worried. I'm not making these imaginations in regards to what can happen, what didn't happen, and all these different things. Like for me, I don't worry about that. Like I know personally speaking, people want to talk about and have emotions about what's currently going on with the countries that I will not name right now, but you know what they are. And for me, I don't really care about that. I'm not worried about that. It doesn't affect me on my personal. If I know someone in the military that it will affect, I'll pray for that person so that they are protected. But other than that, I really don't care like that
In
because
the
I
most
can't do
loving
anything.
way. Like I want
No,
I
no,
think
no.
I
I
think
said in the most loving way. Yeah, you are right. It's just my when I say I don't care, I have to care less because if I start
yes,
to
yes.
care, then my heart is going to start getting tattered because
Right.
I'm going to be caring about things that I cannot control. I can't
Right.
control, but what I can do is pray for it. That's
Yes.
all I
You can
can
yeah,
do.
yeah. And it's really like cuz I say I don't care a lot, but and I've learned to just be like in the most loving way, I don't care.
Yeah, it's just to care less. But have an
Yeah.
amazing day, Mark.
You too, dear. We're gonna bring Cicely up because that is what we're doing. It's always wonderful to have Cicely join me. Hey, Cicely, how you doing?
Good morning, good morning. I'm doing all right.
Good. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a very busy weekend.
Okay. Was it just busy? No other qualifiers.
It was good, but busy.
Okay. Well, let's see how we might be able to balance that out for the rest of your week. You got a number between 1 and 181?
I want 28.
28. 28. I'm switching this one as I've read this one a couple times, not recently, but I'm switching translations on you. I'm gonna read a translation that I haven't read 28 on. If you're strong but remain sensitive, power will flow through you. With that power, you'll always be right with the Tao. It's like a whole new life. If you're idealistic but stay rooted in reality, you are an example to others. Set that example and you'll always be right with the Tao. There's no limit to what you can do. If you are honorable but remain humble, you will see things as they are. If you see things as they are, you'll always be right with the Tao. Your life will become simple, yet full of potential. Let the Tao show you how to get right with the Tao, so your slightest gesture can change the world.
Hmm. That's wow.
Thoughts?
That's very wild.
That's
Because
very wild.
I've been sensitive my entire life, and it's been taken as a joke my entire life. Oh, she's
Yeah.
just dramatic. Oh, she's just, you know how that goes.
Yeah. And I know you're strong as well.
I won't even say strong. I'm resilient. I
Hmm.
just have the ability to keep going.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because the idea of strength really, it doesn't hold weight with me.
Okay.
So when we say strength, because there's a stereotype that's killing people like me called the strong black woman.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah, no, that's not something. Yeah, no, I hear that. Okay.
So I get it a lot because I was raised by strong black women, and these people are actually strong, and I am not. I'm sensitive. I'm soft. I need coddling and community, and I've always been told that I'm wrong for needing these things, as if the sensitivity is all my own fault. Because you know how you get those positive vibes only?
Oh,
Positive
fuck all
vibes.
that. Yeah.
Positive vibes only. Nothing realistic.
No, yeah. Toxic positivity. That stuff gets in your way, man.
And it's one of those things like you just have to deal with it as it comes. But it's really, really hard being a sensitive person raised by people that aren't sensitive.
Yeah, I'm a sensitive dude.
Trying to govern yourself in a way that's strong, but not pretending. Because I pretended to be strong my entire life, you know?
But that's not strength, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think it
Like,
really is.
your ability to be sensitive is what makes you strong. And that's what I reference. Your ability to be seen as sensitive, your ability to be seen as in touch. That's the strength that I think the Tao is talking to. That's the strength that I talk to. Because power will flow through you, right? So here we say, if you are strong but remain sensitive, power will flow through you. With that power, you'll always be right with the Tao. It's like a whole new life.
Hmm.
Like there's times when I was out there in my addictions and stuff, everybody thought that they were tough. Like I had a certain idea of what tough and strong were all about. And all of those things were, lost because
Yeah.
they weren't me actually being able to be sensitive to the moment. And I was just being a dick most of the time. I was being mean most of the time. And that's not strong. That's actually weakness. That's deep hurt weakness.
It makes a lot more things make sense. Because I always wondered how people could always just. I'm like, you don't feel that. How do you not feel that?
Right.
And I know you feel what you're doing. And then I realize some people don't feel what they're doing because I get called narcissistic a lot and self centered a lot, but narcissistic people don't care about what other people think or feel or anything. And I feel like I care too much.
Yeah. There's so much name calling out there right now. The more diagnoses we have, the more ways we can diagnose other people, the quicker we are to just push those names out there. That's not to say that that doesn't exist, but I was talking to Graciela this morning about being on the spectrum and ADD, ADHD, stuff like that. And it's always it hurts my heart that we can't just see people as people. The first thing we need to do is get a diagnosis so that we can treat people as their diagnosis rather than like just show up sensitive to the fact that this is another human being who is having a completely different experience. So if you are
That's all.
strong but remain sensitive, power will flow through you. Right? That's like you will be able to act in this moment the way this moment requires.
And I have not been able to act in the moment as it required. I've been reactive.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when I'm reactive, I feel like nobody's listening.
Right.
When I start to react, you're not listening. And that's the biggest thing about governing, like trying to govern
Hmm.
that reactivity.
And if you're reacting, you're not listening.
Right. So nobody's listening.
Ain't nobody listening. We move into this next section, which says if you're idealistic, but stay rooted in reality, you're an example for others. Set that example, and you'll always be right with the Tao. There is no limit to what you can do.
Hmm.
You know, for me, so much of my life revolves around idealism. Like I have an ideal for the world that I think the world can achieve and can be, and full of love and appreciation and listening and being present and all of these things. But as long as I stay rooted in reality, I won't go off the rails. As long as I understand that I am here right now with you and communicating, and that whatever my idealism holds for this conversation, the reality is that there is something happening between you and I right now, and that's a conversation, and I want that conversation to um, be what it needs to be for it, and then we could experience it together. And that way, I hope to be an example so that like there's no judgment when you come up, and I accept you as you are. I have an ideal, and I stay rooted in this reality that is here in front of me. And then there's no limit to what I can do. I can communicate, and I can touch other people. Oh, you're muted. Okay. So then we have the next line. If you are honorable but remain humble, you will see things as they are. If you see things as they are, you'll always be right with the Tao. Your life will become simple and yet full of potential. And I do feel like I do, like I'd love to have your thoughts on that. You may be on a call right now, so it might be a little difficult. But if you're honorable but remain humble, so that's the way to have your life full of potential. Honorable yet humble. Honorable is interesting. Like you know, so much. I was raised in this way of like being above reproach. Like as long as you can live your life above reproach, then you your life can be simple as you do everything to your the best of your ability. You're honorable in that sense. You treat people with respect. You engage with people in an honorable way, but remain humble. You don't put yourself in front of other people. You meet them shoulder to shoulder, right? You will see things as they are, so you don't have to react. You don't you are being here present as you are. And because if you see things as they are, you'll always be right with the Tao. And seeing them as they are is not seeing them through your own perception. It's seeing them through your seeing them as they are. I mean, is kind of being able to take a step back and not get overly emotionally invested. Right? That's what I always talk about when I do my recover yourself stuff is like, don't get overly emotionally invested. If you're overly emotionally invested, you're not seeing things as they are. You are emotionally invested in that looking a very certain way. And if you are invested in it looking a certain way, you will do your damnedest to make sure you see it in a certain way. And if you're seeing it in a certain way, you're not seeing it as it is. So that's why if you are honorable but remain humble, you will see all things as they are without having to put your emotional investment into it. You will be able to be present with it as it is. Were you able to hear me?
Yes, I was.
Okay, good. Did you have a thought?
I do. I feel like I'm a little too idealistic. I have to be more realistic in all expectations
Mm.
because I have high expectations and I'm very hard on myself.
Hard on yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's easy to do. I thought about this not long ago. We give other people the benefit of the doubt so often because we don't know their whole story. There's so many parts of them that we don't know. And we could be hard on them as well because of that.
Right.
But it's so easy for us to get hard on ourselves because we know our whole story. We know every time we lied. We know every time that we didn't try as hard as maybe we could have. We know every time that we fell short. And when we do that, because we know that, we doubt ourselves. We doubt that we've done all we can. We always say, man, maybe I could have done a little more. It's so easy to come down on ourselves in that position when we know the whole story of what got us here. If you only got to see what we got to see and only knew the beautifully well-spoken Sicily that we all know, right? Like there'd be like, no, you're good. Like you got this. But when you get to see all of your flaws or your character defects, as we say in the 12 steps, like as
Mm-hmm.
they say in the 12 steps, right? Like when you get to see all that, you focus on it. You focus on it in a way that is, sometimes unhealthy because you don't even know. Like that's you. That's not a defect. It's you. And that's something that like needs embracing, not necessarily like the defect or whatever, like, but it's like there's a part of you that needs love, and when you see that part of you and then judge it against this thing that doesn't have anything to do with that, you can see yourself judge that pretty quickly.
Yeah. Harshly too.
Yeah. And then this last line is let Tao show you how to get right with Tao. Let it show you how to get right with it. Like don't preconceive what that looks like. Don't have an idea. Just step back and say, what can I do to be right with you? Be strong, but remain sensitive. Be idealistic, but stay rooted in reality. It's like if it had been a snake, it'd bit you, right? Like if
Right.
you're picking up a snake, like you stay rooted in reality. Idealistic is you can kiss the snake, but realistic is can bite your face off.
All right.
If you're honorable, but remain humble. So when you get right with the Tao, you can let your slightest gesture change the world. Because like someone sees you from across the room and sees you do something, and that can change their life.
Mm.
You're an
Wow.
inspiration, Cicely. Thank you for joining me. Cicely, my heart is with you today. Energy lady, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Good
And yes,
morning.
I'm hanging and sending some hugs to Cicely too because wow, we're like sisters with the emotional base. It's gotta be in the stars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's kind of, when you guys were talking about labels, I got to tell you a funny story. My son called me up one day when he was thinking that he could be a wild child. And he called me up one day and he goes, Mom, I found out what's wrong with me. And I go, what's wrong with you? And he says, he goes, I'm bipolar. I said, no, you're not. And he goes, yes, I am. And he fought me on it. And I said, no, you're not. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, you're just an asshole, never learned how to deal with your emotions. And he goes, you suck. I said, yeah,
Yeah.
you wanted a label. I'm not giving it to you. Grow up. And that worked. And
Well,
it's what you said. It's perfect.
yeah, I'm always up for you taking a label if that's what you want, but
Yes.
that's it. Like that, like understand that's that's it's always it's all like I don't know. I you deal with every situation as it comes. You dealt with your son with love and appreciation as it came, and that's what came out, and I appreciate that, and that
Yeah,
worked.
and the thing that he got to learn is that he didn't obviously want that label because everybody else agreed with him but me. And then as soon as I did that, he got to walk around going, oh man, I have to learn this, and I like to hear descriptions of people, like, like she was saying, narcissistic. I like to hear descriptions just of a personality trait, so I can go, oh, so it's not me. And that's what I've been able to unplug from. I get to see who the energies and the patterns of what other people are standing as, so I can honor them in their space, and I can say, I don't want that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But
That's
that's the only reason. That's the only reason. It's like telling me, "Oh, I'm a guy." Oh shit, I thought you were a girl. It's like that.
yeah.
Um,
Like
it,
all of that is just labels. I mean, I did a interview this weekend with a trans friend of mine, Lona Curry, who hosts the Transgender Mentor and
yeah,
Recovery Soul Food. Amazing guy, and I helped him understand a little bit more. I helped him question a little bit more. He then used that question to understand himself a little bit better, and it was always like, so I was like, look, I'm not going to tell people what kind of transition you're in.
yeah.
That's not for me. That's not for my program, and they don't even need to know. You do,
Right.
and so you
Right.
go
And
look
see,
for that.
yeah, with me understanding, like when people put out, like, because narcissism is a big deal these days. When you put that label out there, give me the true description of it so I can understand the energies and the vibrational pattern, not so I can sit here and put a label on you and feel pity or whatever, be a victim.
Yeah, or be a victim or judge that moment.
Or let somebody else be a victim, because it doesn't
That's
matter.
right.
And it's
Yeah,
never
I
mattered.
don't want
But
to engage in that.
right. But what I love is being able to find that vibrational pattern within myself and
Hmm.
move forward. That, I
Yeah.
mean, it's that simple for me, and it's not for everybody. But anyway, on the note, thank you, Cicely, for everything you were in that moment. It really helped me out, and that's all that matters. It was for her, but it helped me out. So I'm going to pick. It goes. I'm going to see what number 3 has now that all came out, because let me
Number
tell you,
3.
that whole thing worked out really well for me.
If you toss compliments around freely, people will waste time trying to impress you.
Mm-hmm.
If you give things too much value, you're going to get ripped off. If you fulfill people's desires, you'll only leave them dissatisfied. The master leads by clearing the crap out of people's heads and opening their hearts. He lowers their aspirations and makes them suck in their guts. He shows people how to forget what they know and what they want, so nobody can push them around. If you think you've got the answer, he'll mess with your head. Stop doing stuff all the time and watch what happens.
Oh, that's so perfect segue from 28 to this for me,
Yeah.
because goes there.
Yeah,
Because yes, it's what what I love doing is, clearing the head so they can see their heart.
that's right. I
I
mean,
was
you and
just
I do that work, man.
Oh, absolutely. But I didn't in the past. So this is really
Right.
cool. I mean, I'm coming back to it. And I did it in the past and it went away, whatever. And I was talking to a girlfriend and we were talking about community, and she's like, I just want to be around people like me. And I said, you know what I want? She said, what? I said, I want like-hearted, not like-minded. It's not a mandatory to have like-minded. And she said, why? I said, because of the diversity of conversation, I get to learn, I get to be, and I don't have to be right and everybody stand there and be in their self-righteousness, you know, because we're all the same. And she said, oh, wow. Okay. Then I'm going lighthearted,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because a lot of people go for like-minded, and no, I want the heart. And you
Yeah,
just described why.
the like-minded is easy to track because
Yes.
the words you say align. And
Yes.
we've I think the whole cancel culture and all of that kind of stuff that has been going on over the last decade or whatever has really kind of embraced that idea of, I want you to talk and think and do what think, talk, and do, like, and that way I'm not challenged in my thoughts. Like,
Right. Right. So
and that's always
I don't, right. So that I don't have to expand or think.
right, right, right. You think the way I do, and so that automatically means that we're aligned in our hearts, and that is never the case.
No,
Yeah.
no, and that's honestly, I was in raised by the cancel culture. Do it our way, or else you're never going to be accepted. And that went from, I was looking at it from the adulthood that I was raised around, all the way down. And I think it's really cool that I see it, because I kind of think I'm a little bit outside of
Well, I
that.
hope so. Yeah. Like the people that, like I have never, like, I had a friend of mine come up to me. He's like, "Well, do you think Nazis and racists should be able to, like, have assemblies, like, publicly?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course."
They're
Like,
part of
what?
the whole. That's the part
Yeah,
I'm
right.
having.
Like, it's like
Yeah.
like, and throughout the 90s and 2000s and stuff, we've really been, quieting, and I've never really been a big fan of that, of trying to keep people quiet. But let's get back into this and start
Yes,
looking at
go
this.
for it.
And so, if you toss compliments around freely, people will waste time trying to impress you. Love that. Love that. Go on.
What's so funny is that that's what the people around me wanted me to do. So I did it, and it doesn't work, by the way.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, like,
Not to my benefit.
no, no. And that's the thing. Like, they'll toss a compliment around, and even compliments could be a grade. Like, if you're in school, if you get a bad grade, like, maybe you're going to try and impress the teacher with something, but it's not you. It's not you. It's just like a thing you're doing to get a better grade, a thing you're doing to get a compliment, a thing you're doing to get a promotion, a thing you're doing, but that's not who you are. So it can't continue. It is finite.
That's yeah. Well, yeah. Me in school is just a joke. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I was not the most obedient child, the student, for dang sure.
Yeah.
Um, and I appreciate that about myself.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it's just describing, with a conversation I had yesterday. So let's keep going.
Yeah, if you give things too much value, you're going to get ripped off.
You know what, I've been doing that for a long time, so yeah, I get that.
If you fulfill people's desires, you'll only leave them dissatisfied. I love that. That one really rang to me. This idea that, like, if you like, you and I, when we work with clients or whatever, we're not looking to solve some symptom in their life. We're looking to
No.
get them to just raise themselves up into a new place so that they will be satisfied with themselves.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and so there is no dissatisfaction, right? But if you fulfill people's desires, they're going to want more. If you give them delicious food, they're going to want more food. If you give them more money, they're going to want more money. If you help them lose weight, they're going to want to be fitter or whatever. It's always going to, you're just shoveling coal into this hungry ghost.
That's such a good way of putting it, because that's the transition, that transformation that people are old, former people are struggling with me, is that I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah, and they're continuing to show up dissatisfied because they want their desires met. The master leads by clearing the crap out of people's heads and opening their hearts.
That's my love. I always tell
Yeah,
people, let's find your power source, not mine, yours.
right. And that
And
means that means clearing out all the crap that's in your head, clearing out all the thoughts and ideas and desires that you think that you picked up while living under the influences, I would say, under the influence of other
yeah.
things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm.
And see, what I would say, and it's the same thing, is that's what you picked up when you decided to go onto their playground and play their games.
That's
And
right.
see,
That's right.
and yeah, thinking that
It's
you
their
could
rules.
formulate into their formula and not have to have any kind of responsibility whatsoever. You know, and it's not intentional. That's just what we're taught. Do it my way because I know better.
Yeah.
That worked out
He
not so well.
he, he lowers their aspirations and makes them suck in their guts. And I think this suck in their guts thing, I want to say, like, roll up their
Yeah.
sleeves. He lowers their aspirations and makes them roll up their sleeves. I kind of feel like that would reference this better. It's like you're gonna lower their aspiration and toughen their resolve is really kind of where I'm sitting on this. What are your thoughts?
Okay, say a little, because what I'm doing is, in my understanding, is I'm allowing people to become owners of their lives instead of loaning their lives out to people.
Right.
Same idea as what you're saying.
Yeah, like, in order for you, what it says here is he
Mhm.
lowers their aspirations. And what I kind of read that as, because of course we're, dealing with translation and other stuff, is like ambition. Like you're not trying to be something for someone else, right? Like your aspirations come from, in as I understand them at this point, is like you're a kid and you want to be something when you grow up, and that's because, like, of all of the influence that you're around. Maybe you want to be a vet, and that's cool because you love animals and stuff like that and all of that. And as you grow up, like, maybe that needs to hone and change and shift, and like, so like your aspirations um could be coming from an external source, and then it makes you kind of toughen your resolve. So like, just because, like,